The comic book adaptation and hit Amazon Prime TV show The Boys has just hit the end of its 4th season. While at times the season felt slower, the payoff at the end has never been stronger. The setup for the finale season of The Boys was incredible, featuring story arcs like Homelander's takeover and the boys' plot to take that man down. We are so excited to discuss Season 4 of The Boys on this week's episode of Television Tuesday. Hello and welcome to Television Tuesday, the show where we talk TV and tell you all about it. I'm your host, Kel McCall. To my left sits my co-host, Dalton Sherrill. And we're here talking The Boys.
And now, if you're watching a review of The Boys Season 4, you already know who's in it, so let's just jump into our spoiler-free thoughts.
You know who's in it, but this cast is absolutely amazing. We've loved them for 4 seasons now. Spoiler-free thoughts are... I was really into the beginning of the season. The middle of the season just kind of had me wondering where we were going. And the end of the season also kind of had me wondering where we were going. But the finale delivered so hard. 5, 6, and 7, I was wondering what the finale was really going to hold. I knew that we had to be holding back a punch. And I think the finale was that punch.
The show did have a really strong start at the beginning of the season. Maybe it lost a little bit of momentum, or at least these were my thoughts in the very middle, just because I didn't know where these plot threads were going. But whenever it all culminates in the finale, you're like, oh, this is a well-written season of the show.
We're going to go ahead and jump right into those spoilers. So if you haven't seen Season 4, we're going into Season 4. I want to just hit some of the highlight moments. You know, these were some of me and Dalton's favorite moments from the entire season. We're not going to sit here and recap the season, but we couldn't not mention these moments. A-Train's flip was incredible. I loved the whole dynamic, and I think it's something that we'd been predicting for a while even.
Absolutely.
Hoping for.
True.
Just because his character arc needed something like that. Huey's relationship with his mom and dad is horrific throughout this season. I mean, that's just kind of an emotionally traumatic episode that takes place in the hospital.
It's unfortunate what happens to his dad, but you get to have a little bit of a Huey from the comics sort of moment because Simon Pegg has powers, which is a fun little nod.
Absolutely. Then we have the episode where Homelander visits home and he goes back to the lab that he was raised in, and this is one thrill of an episode.
Probably one of my favorites in the season.
Absolutely. I mean, we all knew he was going to end up killing everyone, but the games he plays with them are
fudge
terrifying.
whale cake and coming in and playing waste paper, basketball, and then the dude getting thrown in the furnace. Some brutal stuff is happening.
Very brutal season overall. Another thing though, with Homelander's story, Homelander by far had the most dynamic story this season, and him and Sage's relationship is a huge part of the season. You're like, oh man, is he actually? There are multiple times you're like, is he actually going to listen to her, or is he about to snap? Then you have the reveal that Joe Kessler isn't real. And just Jeffrey Dean Morgan following around Butcher for the entire season was brilliant. I loved those scenes.
Love how their two characters interact. It's obviously Butcher's thoughts, but you have this little Fight Club dynamic going on where he's just the devil sitting on his shoulder.
Joe kind of represents the devil on his shoulder, while Becca represents the angel on his shoulder. And Butcher's just kind of in this psychotic episode throughout the entire season. And then we are brought to the Tech Night episode. What do you think about that episode?
It's the stuff that we're used to from the show at this point. The very raunchy, over-the-top, gory kind of scenes, and they honestly come off comedic, but this is also an episode that, has some high stakes. We have Huey infiltrating Tech Knight's manor as Web Weaver, and MM has the health scare, and A-Train runs him to the hospital. Sage getting shot in the head was funny because of her ramblings that ensued after.
Right.
It was a fun episode.
Absolutely, it was a fun episode. Just one of those strange episodes they throw into every season.
Yeah.
The fight with the Deep in Noir. What were your thoughts on that?
Probably one of the most exciting things that had happened in the season up to that point. Like, we'd had a lot of build up and we needed to pop, and that was one of those moments.
Yeah, and it's one of these moments where the Deep is an asshole in that scene. Like, he is truly, while A-Train went one way and has kind of joined the boys almost and is helping them, the Deep has gone the complete opposite way and is mega Homelander douchebag now.
Maybe even a little sociopath, just because of the way he kills Ambrosia and just the way he's threatening the Vought employees. Now, he kind of gets this sense of entitlement after Sage is kind of feeding his ego a little bit. He's like, oh, I'm a superhero. Yeah, no, I can treat Ashley like crap. So,
and that ends up backfiring on him as well in a hilarious scene where he finds out he's not the only one banging Sage.
Which is, yeah, no, great joke.
One of the other season highlights I have on here is the Deep getting so violent this season. His character arc went away that I didn't really expect it to go. But I think this is also kind of more accurate to the comic book Deep, who is a much more serious character.
Tell me I'm the smartest member of the 7. Are you just saying that because you're scared?
Right. Oh, that's good enough for me. Kills him anyways.
Oh.
Like, he's just playing mind games with people. Starlight losing her powers was kind of a big thing this season, because there are multiple times where, like, she's in a situation where she could go toe-to-toe with Newman or multiple other characters throughout the season, and she just doesn't have her powers, so we've kind of lost that asset to the team. She still has, like, super strength, it looks like, in some of these fights, but it's not until the very end of the season, where the boys have already lost, that we see her regain her powers, and then we see her fly at the end, which is something we've been building up towards. So I can't wait to see Starlight beat more ass next season, because we finally got to see her beat some ass at the end of this season, and I can't wait to see more of it.
I totally agree. I think she's one of those characters that kind of got shoehorned with the last season, because she didn't have a major arc last season, but in this one, she's really gotten to shine, no pun intended. And I love the sort of Spider-Man 2 arc that she has, where it's like, I could probably use my powers all along. It's just a matter of how's my mental fortitude right now? What's going on? And it's after, the abortion gets leaked that I feel like maybe she starts to lose her powers and gets into that negative headspace.
Negative headspace, overwhelming headspace, it seems.
And she got violent a lot as well.
Yeah, she feels like Peter Parker, Nightwing, Mark Grayson style character in a show like this, and I will say this season put Starlight maybe to the top of my list in terms of characters in this show.
But I'll say she was one who started off very high and maybe dipped off when they weren't giving her cool character arcs. So
cool character arcs and just screen time in general.
Right.
She's easily the coolest hero in this show that's not, like, completely crazy, and we want to see her more, Kripke. And then we have Frenchie and Kimiko at the end. Frenchie saves Kimiko from the virus, cutting her leg off in that nasty scene.
Nail biting.
Right, and then you end up having the kind of the end of their arc for the show was that they kissed, they got together, and then when the boys lose, we hear Kimiko yell. We hear her voice, which is insane.
And it's crazy that we get there just because they throw us with the whole Colin curveball earlier in the season. And,
right.
Frenchie is exploring some other potential partners, and that ends up going south, and then we kind of get what we had always been set up for.
It's what we were hoping for.
Now we're going to jump into some of the finale highlights and, the amazing moments from it.
Because we both loved the finale.
Yes. First, we're going to talk about Homelander burning Ryan's room.
It's one of these moments where we were being tricked by the filmmakers in the beginning of the season. They were literally making us think that Homelander was maybe going to be more soft on Ryan, and that he wasn't going to have this arc where he becomes the president and says, screw everybody. But Yeah, no, they were just kind of setting us up to believe that, because that's exactly where we end up going. And I think I was confirmed that when Ryan walks into his room and he finds the picture of Butcher and Homelander's found it and everything's tore up. It's just bad.
He tries so hard to keep it together for the longest time for Ryan, even though his crazy is starting to seep through the cracks. But this is just one of those moments that just really catches you off guard. There's Ryan killing Grace in a very unexpected scene.
Dude, yeah, that was really heartbreaking, especially after her being like, yo, I lost my kids, and, I didn't think I had anything left in this world, and then you came around, kiddo, and I felt like I could live again. And, dude, Ryan just... I don't know where his story's gonna go from here. I didn't think he was gonna end up like Homelander.
And see, I don't know if he's going to end up like Homelander, but I did see it from his perspective too, that from his perspective, it seemed like they were going to do what they did to Homelander. You're going to keep me here and make me your weapon, and he wasn't down for that. And then we have Annie fighting the Shifter. And the Shifter was the person who was tasked with killing the president. Pretty lethal character. Yeah, 20 times in a week. Doing butt stuff.
Proposing to him.
That was insane.
Oh, dude, that was an emotional little bit, because the viewer knows what's going on here, and Huey doesn't, and you're just feeling for him.
One interesting thing about that character, too, is, not only can they shift bodies, and I like the way that they do it, too. They rip the skin off, which is grotesque, but also just fitting for this show. But they also get all of the memories of the people that they're, impersonating. So that's a really unique spin on it.
It is. I thought it was a cool twist.
Then we also have Butcher making the deal with Joe.
And it seems like he gave Joe control, which is what happened when he killed Ezekiel, and Butcher just kind of woke up and had no clue what happened. But we see this scene where Butcher walks up in the boys' headquarters and literally venoms out, and tentacles shoot out of him and take down Newman, and we just kind of see that, yeah, this devil on his shoulder, which was Joe Kessler, which represents the worst side of Butcher, while, Becca represents him at his best. Whatever him and Kessler did represents him at his worst.
Absolutely.
And now that worst part of Butcher is in the driver's seat, and we are taken to kind of the comic book story where Butcher's your in-game villain, I think.
I think so, too, and wow. Really didn't think we were gonna go down that route, but just given the choices that have been made, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Then we have probably one of the most unexpected moments in this episode, but as soon as she went into Homelander's apartment, I knew what was happening. Ashley taking Compound V.
And this is something we don't get the resolution for. We never see her again after she takes it. So it'll just be something we pick up on in season 5.
I've been seeing all sorts of crazy theories online as to what Ashley's power might be. Some speculate that she might be a Hulk-esque character who grows and gets strength.
Oh.
She might be this character from the comic book, but they're essentially like a Martian Manhunter sort of character, and they evidence that based on the way her skull was kind of malforming after she takes the Compound V.
Gotcha.
The third theory is that she might have something to do with her hair, maybe a Medusa sort of snakes for hair sort of power.
Oh, gotcha.
Interested.
I thought it was one of the cooler bits of the whole season. I'd never expected that.
But she's been such a long-running character to kind of finally give her I guess the next step in her arc is so exciting.
I think so too. Because she was dicked throughout this season.
And throughout the show. I mean, she's had to be this, corporate-serving individual who's had to, work under the thumb of all these oppressive superheroes.
Absolutely.
Then we have Homelander winning solely because of Sage, even after he had already kicked her off of the 7.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you're like, how does he still have people on his team?
I think in that scene, you hear a little bit of Homelander's theme playing after she's kind of explaining her rationale. She literally just wanted to see if she could do it.
Yeah.
Sage is evil herself, and I love that. It's like they are two peas in an evil pod. Then we have the boys losing. We have, your sort of Empire Strikes Back sort of Like, there's no hope for the future sort of ending.
It makes sense for them to lose in season 4 because season 5 is going to be their finale comeback.
It definitely does, but it's just...
It was shocking.
Yeah, no, everybody just getting taken out in like the last 5 minutes is wild.
Yeah.
Then we have Annie's escape.
Don't know where she's going to go, don't know what she's going to do, but you know she's going to fight.
And again, you know, the speed that she takes off, you know, before ascending into flight, that was incredible. And I think I saw something on the internet about how maybe she's like the fastest flying character in the show now because she flies at the speed of light. I don't know how true that is, but like, she could potentially be one of the fastest like flying characters. Maybe even one of the most powerful next season.
That's awesome.
Butcher getting the virus and just taking off in his car.
Dude, that man's on a one-man mission to kill them all.
Bro's in like rural Virginia heading to Washington, D.C.
Right. And I'll say that just like seeing Ryan kill Grace and is what pushed him to make that deal with Kessler. And now I think he just is going to justify killing every single one of them.
Right, but at the same time, I just feel like his hand was sort of forced. Like, we saw what happened to the boys. They all got apprehended at the end. There would have been no hope for the future had Butcher not done what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just think about this, too. Like, Ryan's now killed Grace and Becca.
2 people that were, you know, big individuals in his life.
The only people that Butcher had in his life as well.
And then finally, we have perhaps one of my favorite parts of the episode, which is our last scene, our end credit. We have a Soldier Boy cameo. It's the guy who ends up becoming president. He was like the attorney general, and he brings Homelander in there, and he's like, yeah, no, I just got briefed about this today. And then it's Soldier Boy in his same little like cryo chamber that he was at the end of the last season, and we just see Homelander stare at him and hear a little bit of that violin theme before we fade to black. Such a cool moment.
Such a cool moment, such a cool finale. Like, we were on the edge of our seats chomping at the bits for that shit. This sets up for season 5 amazing. Because like you said, last 5 minutes of the episode, we're dropped this bomb where they're all captured. And so we have no clue where season 5 is going. But it took us to this point where we're so into it that we want more than anything.
As you know, The Boys is satire for superheroes, but also just mainstream, everyday human culture, the news, everything that you're seeing, the world around you. And this season is pretty political because, you know, there's an election going on. Not only that, it weirdly coincided with the attempted assassination of, you know, Donald Trump, so...
Right, and they flashed it up at the screen to let us know this is no coinkadink.
It's a cool backdrop for this season.
Yeah, you know, and they go into plenty of political ideas here. Abortion's a highlight of the theme, which is also like a super relevant topic in real life, and I think it just tries to grapple onto some relevant topics to kind of engage the viewer into what's going on. And I was thinking more than anything, The Boys is like this story of what if superheroes lived in the United States, because they are going through the same political issues that we go through. Like, I just think it's kind of a super interesting message, is that even if you are super powered to the gills, like, you're still gonna run into these same problems that everyday people run into.
True. And I mean, there's the whole, you know, character of Firecracker. She is the host of this podcast, and it's the truth bomb. You know, it's all the conspiracy theory sort of kind of making fun of, you know, extreme right-wing, you know, views, and it's set up through the little convention that they go to, and they find Firecracker's, like, he liked her, and he was like the human centipede whenever they found him.
Remember.
You don't remember his
No.
name? That was another very, like, disgusting moment in the season when they walk in on him, just clones of him in a row eating his ass. Just,
yeah. One of the other kind of themes of the season is parenthood and family. Like, we see Huey literally meets his mom for the first time in like 20 years. he goes through the loss of his dad, and they just have some extremely emotional moments, and you kind of just see the passing of the torch of family generations here. You have MM's story, where he wants to make sure his family is safe more than anything, and he's having to sacrifice being with them to do that.
He's very much a duty over family sort of deal there. And you have Ryan, who's choosing between two fathers.
Yeah, which is an incredibly tough decision for a child to make, and especially in his wacky situation.
Victoria Newman, and her tragic death ends up seeing Zoe at Red River, which was the last thing that she ever wanted to happen, which is a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah, it's just this, we see her trying to make sacrifices for a kid as well. Like, I think family sacrifices and passing things on to the next generation is kind of a highlight, and it makes me think that we could see some of our main characters die next season.
Family is also intertwined with A-Train's plot. I think
Absolutely.
Of whenever they're watching him and he goes and visits his family at the park, and his brother's like, no, get away from him. He's a fake hero. Every person he's saved has been staged and corporate managed. And then he finally gets his first real save. And before he gets out of Dodge, his family's already gone. Family is at the center of this story, which is really cool.
Love it.
There's also this theme of characters exploring their dark, traumatic past, or maybe things they've done in the past that they're not proud of, or ill things that have happened to them. Homelander especially. The scientists who, brought him up in the Vought lab, tortured him just to experiment on him and see what limits they could push his body to. You also have Starlight's sort of dark past and the beef that she had with Firecracker.
You have Butcher and Kessler, whatever they did together.
Whatever horrible thing they did.
Things.
Because it's been compared to genocide, It almost seems like, Kessler's like, oh, you're no stranger to this. It's like what we did back in, whatever mission. And Huey just kind of had we get to address maybe some of the trauma he has as a child of his mother just kind of walking out on him and just suddenly re-entering his life, and is his father's power of attorney, is getting to make his life decisions while he's in the hospital.
Yeah. Huey's put through it the entire show.
Speculating for season 5, just because the boys are in the hands of Vought, I think maybe there's going to be some sort of prison break. Maybe between the cast of Gen V and the boys who got taken. Maybe there's a prison break from A-Train and Starlight working together. Maybe Ashley's a part of this crew. I think there's going to be some renegade superheroes fighting off these sort of lieutenants of Homelander, and some very under-the-radar guerrilla warfare going on.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of that. I really have no clue how Season 5 is going to start. Gotta hope that our heroes get out fast and that they're able to start fighting back, because ultimately we're here for the fight.
I don't think that Soldier Boy is just going to stand for what Homelander's doing, but I feel, and this is me speculating still, that maybe he won't have a say in the matter. I think Kate's going to come and kind of play a big role in the season, because then she can just kind of mind control anybody and, get some more people to fight for Homelander potentially.
Kate and Sam weren't made the main characters of Gen V just to control Frenchie. They're gonna have some huge role to play.
Right. I don't know, maybe you could see the return of Maeve, depending on how serious this plot gets. If we're talking there's a whole threat to the United States, and you have all these, superhero lieutenants staged throughout, it's I don't think there's any way that she's going to be able to live in a country run by Homelander.
Right.
I think there might be a return from her character, and she's going to maybe get V again. I don't know, just speculating.
We're just here speculating. I really don't have a ton of theories for Season 5. I just need it to come out. I need it to get here. Absolutely can't wait. The Boys is one of my favorite ongoing shows. Probably top 2 ongoing superhero shows, The Boys and Invincible. I maybe lean Invincible just because the world's so much bigger. And I have fun exploring the universe. But let me know in the comments whether you're Invincible or whether you're The Boys.
And I have one more speculation.
Yeah.
I think that maybe if somehow Butcher can get his parasite removed, maybe he would have his powers that he did from season 3. I think right now he's using the parasite's compound V, but I think he still got injected with the V. You remove the parasite, he's got his old powers, and he can just go on living.
We hope you really enjoyed this review of The Boys Season 4. We've absolutely loved the show. Stoked to get this review out. Stoked to see what you guys think about The Boys in the comments. People have been lighting up the comments of Studio Cinema Saturday and Television Tuesday here lately, so keep lighting them up. We love it. I love talking movies and TV with you guys in the comments. Check out the other episodes of Television Tuesday. We have Invincible, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. We run our sister show, Studio Cinema Saturday, where we do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We've done Civil War, Roadhouse, all kinds of movies on there for you, so go check it out.
And coming up here just in a few short months, we're going to have our Studio 24 Horror Month. We'll be dropping 4 short films in the month of October on 4 different Saturdays, leading up to a final drop on Halloween, so stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. We can't wait for you to see all the content coming up, and we'll see you there.